Welcome to the Soaring Through Adversity podcast. Here's your host, Renee Brazilet.
Hey, y'all. I'm your host, Renee Brazilet, and the co-founder and servant CEO of Victory Advantage, a nonprofit dedicated to providing financial support and resources to empower individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and physical disabilities to live with independence and belonging. Each month, we lift up these individuals who were too often unheard and overlooked, as well as those who walk alongside them. These voices are filled with resilience and hope. Soaring Through Adversity isn't just a podcast. If you want to hear real stories, raw and honest, that reveal what victory truly means, if you're ready to see ability where others see disability, if you're ready to be inspired and to join a movement of inclusion, you're in the right place. Please stay with us as we redefine what's possible, one story at a time. Today, we've got a fantastic podcast. It is with Michael and Deena McDowell. They are the founders of Joyful Table Church in Mint Hill, North Carolina, a vibrant, inclusive community where people of all abilities are welcome and celebrated. Deena is a native of West Palm Beach, Florida, spent 31 years as a physical therapist assistant, and continues to serve as a medical coder and caregiver. Michael is from Charlotte, North Carolina, has been a painting contractor for over 40 years. Married for 3 decades, the couple has 2 adult children, Joseph and Devaney, and together they've served in disability ministry for more than 13 years. They started with Johnny and Friends and are members at Carmel Baptist Church and serve there as well. Their mission is simple but profound: to create a church where everyone has a place, a purpose, and a reason to rejoice. The title of today's episode is A Seat for Everyone. Let's talk about first the why and your calling. This is for both of you. You guys mentioned that you both knew you were being called into working with people with disabilities. As you say, special abilities. Tell me the moment you both knew that that's what you wanted to do.
Well, I don't think either one of us saw any of this coming, which I guess is the case with a lot of ministry opportunities. We had never worked with people with disabilities at all before we started with Johnny and Friends, and really didn't know all the wide spectrum of disabilities and what families go through and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We had no idea, but we're just looking for a way to go on a mission trip with our kids back when they were really young. We wanted to do things as a family. And through her research, Deena's research, and a luncheon that we got invited to by a dear friend, Johnny and Friends Luncheon, it became pretty clear that's what we were supposed to do. And that's kind of how we got started. And we thought it would just be a kind of a one-off kind of thing. We'll go serve at a family retreat with Johnny and Friends, and we'll see what we're going to do next year.
That retreat was life-changing for both of us. It was a real eye-opening experience to see just what life with disability is like on a daily basis. We absolutely loved camp, and we were sure that we were coming back another year, and that turned into 13 years. And over the course of those 13 years, we found out that a lot of the families that come to camp only are able to worship once a year. At camp, there is always a worship service every day. And due to some of the circumstances that each family had, they were not welcome in a church, or at least they didn't feel welcome in a church. So that just kind of broke our hearts, that these families that we had gotten close to could only go to church once a year. And we thought, how can we change that? How can we take this experience and make it a weekly experience that is comfortable for the entire family to
worship together?
Worship.
And enjoy and feel comfortable. I think that's the biggest thing. I learned that firsthand when I had suffered brain damage from my brain tumor. And I noticed when I would go into a church that the people in the wheelchairs were sitting in the back.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, they were in a wheelchair. The people with varying degrees of disabilities, they would be on their game and just not included. And that was one of the first things that I noticed when I was able to attend Johnny and Friends. And the first time I went there, I said to myself, actually, I told people, this is like a slice of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
It's what people are going to feel like when everybody is as one. But there was no, everybody looked at everybody the same way. And once you have that calling, you have that calling. God will lead you in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
An inclusive ministry and disability engagement, it's been a part of your life for a decade. So as you've gone this far, what has kept you going with this? You mentioned you're still members at Carmel Baptist Church, and I know they have a strong disability ministry, correct?
They do. They really do. And we're very thankful for that. They actually have dedicated pastor for people with special needs in the congregation. And his name's Jeremy Amick. We just love him. And very, very special man. And with a thriving ministry there at Carmel. And we've been at Carmel for a long time, and we love it there. And we love the people in the classes that we serve. So we're for the near and probably some of the distant future going to continue with that.
Mm-hmm.
We just have wonderful friends there, and we enjoy being able to serve in that capacity as well.
So how long have you been at Carmel? So you talked about the time frame for Johnny and Friends. Have you been at Carmel?
We've been at Carmel for about 35 years.
Oh, my goodness.
But probably only involved with the disability ministry there. We didn't really start that until, I guess, we started going to Johnny and Friends.
Correct. Yeah.
And just really saw that the Lord was kind of calling us in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, we didn't see any of this coming. And then all of a sudden, it's become the focus of our marriage. It's been a drastic change, but it's been wonderful.
So when did you actually launch Joyful Table Church?
That was back in April 2 years ago. We had our soft opening about the middle of April. That was 2024, I guess. And then we had our first official service on Mother's Day, 2024. And we've been going ever since. And we started kind of counting up, every week we get ready and we do all these things to prepare and load up the truck and go to the church or whatever. And we started thinking, wow, we've been doing this for a year and a half. We've loaded this truck 60 times, it just, the days go by and all of a sudden you realize, wow, God's doing all this really great stuff, and it's kind of hard to put into words.
So I was going to ask you what the early days were like, but it sounds like the early days have extended and still kind of similar. Is that right? Or were the early days a little different than they are now?
Everything's about the same.
Yeah.
We follow the same program. We always eat dinner together. We've had many, many fabulous meals, and it's also an opportunity for everybody to participate. We've got people that make brownies every week or
wash tablecloths.
Yes, wash tablecloths. It's part of their service, being part of the church.
And I didn't quite finish your answering your question.
Okay.
What keeps you going?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But the thing for me is, and this is something that just really became apparent, I guess a little bit along the way, but more so a few months ago, it really just hit me that, here we are with the families that we have now, and people are worshiping together. There's no judgment. It's just pure worship. And the music, everyone using their gifts, it's just, and we're not doing any of it, I don't have all this in me, to pull this off every week. It's just, from the beginning, we've had this desire and this calling, but we really haven't had any idea what we're doing.
That sounds like us and our nonprofit. It's kind of like take a step. Well, excuse me. That's what I say. Take a step, then say a prayer. And then I'm like, no, we need to say a prayer and then take a step. But there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just really neat to see all of this happening and realize we didn't really have much to do with this. God's done all this. Everyone's using their gifts in the service. It's just like the Bible says, and it's right there, So I'm very thankful for that, and that's what keeps me going. Both of us actually, just seeing what God is doing in this capacity.
Well, Ray and I had the pleasure of coming to the church on Sunday night. And by the way, it is in the chapel at Arlington Baptist Church in Mint Hill, North Carolina. But I got that same sense, that feeling of what it was like to be in the chapel in the church services at Johnny and Friends. So congratulations to you both. You have kind of duplicated what you've learned. And like us at Victory Advantage, that's kind of what I'm doing. And, and this community is so strong. It's about, looking to other people that's been helping people with special needs longer or doing it in a different way so that we can all come together as a community. And like you guys were talking about, with everybody has a part and their gifts. One of the things that I'm surprised about is it's totally different than what you guys do, but with us providing funding for people to live independently as much as they can, whether it be to stay in their own homes. And that's a good example of what I want to tell you is that we provided funding for a lady to be able to stay in her home rather than going back to the institution that she calls it. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but she was not living independent, not in her own home with her own things. And it's happened since then. A lot of the people that we work with, I'm becoming friends with. How do you interact, or it's more than just the finances, it's a community.
Yeah.
She called me and said, I want to help you. Tell me what I can do, like take the money and not do anything in return. So I've got some ideas. She's got some disabilities from brain bleeds and she's going blind and her balance is really bad, but she has help through the government, through the state, and they come out and they help her 3 days a week, but she's able to live by herself. So we figured out some things that she could do to use her gifts, and this woman is ecstatic, and so am I, because it allows her to feel valued.
Yes.
And that's what we all need and we all deserve. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. I'll ask you, Deena. Were you afraid? Did fear come into play at all when you first started this? Did somebody say, oh, Deena, in your own head, not somebody, but in your own head, you can't do this?
Exactly. We are not church planters. We do not even preach. We kind of refer to ourselves as the goalies or the referees. We kind of keep the puck in play.
Love that analogy. That's good. That's good.
But yeah, certainly you say to yourself, why do you think you can do this? That's a question you just kind of have to ignore and say that I'm stepping out in obedience.
Yes.
This is what God has prepared us to do. Also, our children were brought up serving at camp.
Yeah.
And they're perfectly placed for something like this. So we do have a lot of help from our adult children and our parents.
I was getting ready to ask you that. How old are your children?
They are 23 and 26.
Oh, okay. So you've raised them to be in service of others. That's
yes.
great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was very important to us. We always told them from a very early age that you're never going to feel any pressure from us as far as things like college or, whatever the steps are you're supposed to take or whatever. If that's what's in your life, that's fine. That's great. But we just want you to be people that are looking around, looking for people that need a little extra help. That's the only thing we require of you,
Yeah.
And I think that helped a lot just to have that weight off, of, oh, my parents don't want me to go. I mean, if they would have chosen those directions, that would have been fine. But we wanted them to be people looking around for those that needed a leg up a little bit.
You taught them to look outward instead of inward.
Right.
And
yes,
that's a
unique.
unique.
And so far, I think it's worked.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, okay, we're talking about your church. If I ask you in one sentence, how would you describe it?
I would say that we are a worship service for people with special abilities and circumstances and their families and caregivers. And we seek to be a place where we can worship the Lord in any capacity with any gift that we have.
That's fantastic. How about you?
That was a long sentence.
That's what I was thinking, but I'll leave it to the wife. I'll leave it to your wife to say that.
I would say probably the most fun church you've ever been to.
I like it. I
Mhm.
like it because I did see that everyone was enjoying themselves and relaxed. It was, nobody looked at anybody differently. And that's amazing to me after, and I couldn't walk. That was when I really experienced how people treat people with disabilities. And that was like a moment for me. And Ray's brother had Downs.
Mhm.
Before he passed away, I met him. He's one of the sweetest individuals you'd ever want to meet. And then at my stepdaughter was 29 and she had a massive stroke. So my right side is like her left side. And we get the craziest looks when we're together. But it's not bad because they ask us,
Right.
which is something that people would rather hear than just staring or not making eye contact at all. So those were really moments for me that I felt like God was leading us down this road to do something for people with special needs. And then as I went to Johnny and Friends and done what you guys have talked about, Lee Park that I go to has got a special needs ministry. And it is just, once you're in because
Yeah.
you won't meet any better people
I
than
know that's exactly
that group.
That's exactly where we are. And like I said before, we didn't see any of this coming. And it's, we haven't been in a traditional Sunday school class for a while now since we've been serving in the Joy Ministry there at Carmel. But we don't really want to, we just want to be with our people,
Yeah.
it's your eyes are kind of opened,
Well, that's why I was telling Ray the other day that we need to go to the Disability Sunday School at Lee Park because there's so many people that's been on my podcast.
Yeah.
And it would be great just to go and hang out with them and enjoy their time. Joyful Table Church.
Mhm.
What does the table mean to you? Where did you get that name?
So it was very important to us that it not just be a church service, but that we also have a sense of community. So before we could even name the church, we had to commit to the fact that, yes, we were going to have a meal every single week. And it's different from just going to a traditional church service where you just go and you come home. You really cannot expect to get to know people when you just say hello in the greeting part of the service. So we really wanted to have that be a very integral part of the name. So we thought, okay, what can we do with the table in it? So we tried out several different things and came up with Joyful Table, and it just fits.
It does. And we struggled with that name for a long time. We kept poring over all the passages, David and Mephibosheth and, all the other passages, and then we were thinking, this, David's something, I don't know. And it took forever. And finally we just decided, Joyful Table. And like Deena said, that the community and the fellowship part of it, especially folks in this community really rely heavily on each other and the relationships they have with other families. And we wanted to be able to encourage that. And and just seeing how that's worked over the last year and a half, people have just, there's always a chat going on, with the ladies. They're doing the ladies' lunches now. There's been some friendships made.
You mean outside?
Outside of, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah. And it's
Our
really...
ladies, they meet every month, go out to lunch together. Only the ladies, no men are allowed. And they just love it. And it's just so needed, to be with somebody who knows exactly what you're going through.
You're feeling such a need when you talk about the retreat and the people only being able to go to church once a year. And I've even known people that have gone to Johnny and Friends and a part of the community. They're at your Joyful Table as well, whose families don't help them, to put it bluntly, don't have anything to do with them. And I can't imagine that happening. So to hear that you guys have built this where they can learn from each other and share. That is what is so amazing to me, is how God puts us together so that we can be in this together.
Together, yes.
And it's amazing.
The Soaring Through Adversity podcast is presented by Victory in Time. Victory in Time's mission is to help executives, leaders, and business owners excel in their faith, lives, and work. Through speaking engagements, one-on-one mentoring, and our mastermind groups, known as Victory Circles, Victory in Time wants to help you become the best leader you can be. Find out more at victoryintime.com. Also, don't forget to pick up your copy of the Soaring Through Adversity book, Life Lessons to Lead Triumph and Rise Above. All net proceeds from sales of the Soaring Through Adversity book benefit Victory Advantage.
Let me ask you this,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll start with you, Deena. Tell me your proudest moment since you've had Joyful Table, that moment when you were so proud. I'm sure there'll be more, many more, but can you think of one right now?
I think probably a combination of when the ladies together decided to have their own luncheon. It was something I would really wanted to see, but for them to come up with it on their own, I was just thrilled for that. And also, I think when I, on a Sunday evening, walk into the room where everybody's eating and to hear them talking and going back and forth and encouraging each other, it's like, oh, we did it. We did it. This is what we wanted. This is what we wanted to see. So that would probably be my proud moment.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
Oh,
Michael?
my goodness.
It's hard to pick one.
It really is. I'm sitting here as you're talking going, "Man, which one am I going to talk about here?" But I would say I really get a thrill out of seeing some of our members that have special needs get up in the service and read scripture, or help act out in a little play that we've done, or get up and sing a solo.
Or like John playing the piano.
Exactly.
What was it, Star Spangled Banner?
Star Spangled Banner for
that was
Veterans
his gift,
Day.
and it was huge.
Exactly. And everyone has all these gifts. We're all made in the image of God. And to have a place to come and worship and use those gifts, that makes me very proud. Yeah.
I talk about in this podcast about giving voices to the often unheard and unseen. And you have certainly done that at Joyful Table. It's I'm proud to have been able to go Sunday night.
We were glad to have you. That was
will come
awesome.
again.
Yes,
I will come again.
That would be great.
I left there with a big smile on my face. What are some of the practical steps that you guys took that you can share with other people that might be interested in doing the same?
Well, like I said before, we had no idea what we were doing. We felt like we had a very clear calling, though. We were both on board. We were both, let's pursue this. But we really didn't have a place to start. Like she said, we're not church planters and we don't know how to do all this stuff. I mean, there's a million YouTube videos but you can spend your whole life watching videos and trying to figure things out. We just started going out and talking to people, at churches. We joined the Disability Awareness Network.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's originally started by the For Charlotte organization. And Johnny and Friends, the office here in Charlotte, plays a big part in that. They facilitate a lot of those meetings. It's a monthly meeting. They haven't started yet this year. They typically run during the course of the school year. But they haven't started. I think they're actually starting this year in January. And it's just a monthly meeting. Usually it's held at Forest Hill Church or the Johnny and Friends office in Matthews. And it's just a place for people from churches all over Charlotte to come and learn about how to facilitate a disability ministry at their church. And it's wonderful. We met a lot of people at those meetings and got a lot of encouragement for what we were doing. But it probably took us, a year or so of meeting people for lunch, different pastors and people, old friends that we thought might be interested in what we were doing. We thought maybe along the way a church might come alongside us and maybe sponsor us in some way. We just really didn't know what to do. And finally, we'd been doing that for a year and we weren't really getting anywhere. And Deena finally said, why don't we just put this out on Facebook, And I put a little post out there in the local group that we're a part of. We're looking to start a church for people with disabilities, a worship service, and we're looking for someone that might have space for rent or just to donate, you know. And a couple days later, the pastor at Arlington Baptist contacted us. And it turned out we knew him. Our kids were in school together. And we met with him, and he said, we have all this space here at this church, and we like to be good stewards of what we've been given. We really enjoy helping new churches get their start, and we'd like to help you. And
Amazing.
We're looking at each other with our mouths open, just this is what we've been looking for, it just fell on our lap. And he took us over and said, you can have this space right here. You can have this chapel. You can have these rooms to have your meal in. And there you go. We walked away from that meeting with keys and an appointment to meet with their worship pastor to figure out all the soundboard and all that stuff. And all of a sudden we had a church.
I call that God's timing.
Yes.
And it's always perfect.
It's perfect.
Whether we like it or not.
Exactly.
That's what I say. You guys were wanting it earlier and trying to pull, and then boom.
It just right there.
There it is. I actually did a post about coming to the church today.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll see that in your feed.
Excellent.
And so that's one of the questions, as you just segued right into it, is what some of the needs are that you have. What are the hurdles that you're facing? Or, like you talked about that truck. You probably loaded and unloaded that truck 60 times. Are you looking for volunteers? Anything like that would like to come alongside with the church to help from that perspective?
You want to take that?
Our biggest challenge right now is getting the word out. We feel like there are so many more families that could benefit from a service like this. But we're just not gifted at media.
Yeah, marketing is not our, again, we don't know what we're doing. We're willing, but...
We visited a lot of resource fairs, and we've been vendors at certain autism and IDD activities. And we've been able to get out in the public that way and just talk to people. But I feel like there's something else out there that would probably get our name out, but I'm not real sure what that looks like.
With the Victory Advantage, we're doing the same thing because we're new. It's like, how do we find these people that we want to be a part of? And it's a struggle. But what I found is it's like, okay, God, the requests have dried up, and then I'll get 5. But I'm one of those people that is, God grant me patience, but hurry. We want it to grow. We want it to grow faster. I mean, I'll go into a board meeting and I'll say something like, well, we only. And they're like, we're a year and a half. That's great. I'm like, we want more, that kind of thing. But it is. I mean, it's truly God's timing. But, when I post the information on the podcast and it goes live, I'll certainly put in there to lead people to the podcast about what your needs are. So we can talk a little bit later about that so I can get that content like we need it. Not that I've got a lot of followers, but again, I'm trying to get more. So we'll see what we can do there.
That would be great. Yeah.
In working with these people and spending time with the special needs individuals, or as you call it, the special abilities, which I love. I'm going to steal it.
Steal all you want.
Okay, thank you. What is a lesson that someone within the church with special abilities has taught you?
That I'm far more worried about what other people think of me than they are. I would say to see somebody get up, whether it be a solo in our service or the talent show at camp, and to see them just shine and throw off any hindrance to just do their talent or sing their song. And I think about how I would be horrified to get up in front of people to do that same thing. And it just tells me you take yourself a little too seriously.
You're preaching to the choir here. I'm listening. I hear you. I need to call you every day and hear that same story. What changes do you hope comes about in the community because of what you guys are doing at Joyful Table?
Ooh, I guess just more acceptance. Now that we have seen how this kind of thing can go, and we kind of have a come and see approach, we can tell people, all day what the service is like, what people are doing, how people are reacting to it. But until you actually come and see for yourself, you really don't know what it's like. But then when people come and see, they're just, oh my goodness, this is wonderful. Why haven't I, there's all these questions that like, yeah, we were in that same spot 15 years ago. And now we see people that have, disabilities or hindrances, whatever, come and freely worship with their family, be a part of something. And once you see that, I don't think you really can appreciate it until you see it in its true form. You come to church and you see everyone worshiping and no one's looking, no one's pointing fingers, no one's asking, whatever. Do we have the proper training to be a friend to this person? It's all of those things. And I know there's people have fears and all that. I'm not condemning anyone. But I would say just more acceptance of the disability community in general, recognizing their gifts and what they can bring to society and to the body of Christ.
That's wonderful.
We would love to see a change possibly in the traditional church.
Amen.
We would love, if I'm allowed to dream a little bit here.
Please.
One day I would love to approach the seminaries here in Charlotte and just bring in some of their students and say, this is what it looks like for complete inclusivity.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With the exposure and increase, I guess you could say, of autism,
yes,
this is going to be the future of the church. We cannot forever expect for people to be silent for a 45-minute sermon. How can we change that? I'd love for our church at some point, to become an example that maybe they could take a look at and hopefully change the way things will be in the future.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. That is thinking big, and it's grassroots though. It is starting when they are starting to understand what the church today should look like.
And again, we don't want to ever seem like we're condemning, the traditional church. It's certainly been wonderful for us. It's been wonderful for 2,000 years. But once you see members of that church, members of the same body, contributing in very, very powerful ways, the traditional church really seems to be lacking just a little bit as far as, they're missing out on all these wonderful gifts that people have that they can offer to the whole body.
And, when I was talking about, when I experienced things firsthand, it's not that, and I'm talking about individuals, not so much, the church as a whole, but they haven't been taught. And that's what you're talking about. It starts from the top down, just like in the school system. You have people that have special needs, and their mama will tell me, I've got a good friend that she says that B is ecstatic to go to church. He's treated like a king. The football players, the cheerleaders, they come up and they high five him, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But it starts with the principal. Just like if it started with the preacher, it would trickle down and everybody would follow suit and learn more and have classes and just help everybody understand what it is about. One of the things that I'll mention and get your take on is, and I learned this, first of all, when Ray had to do everything for me. And I saw how tired he got. And people are here to support us when it first happened, when I first got home from the hospital. But everybody goes back to their own lives. And then you've got a caregiver that does everything. It's not just the individual they're caring for, it's the house, it's the food, it's everything. And I watched him just become exhausted. And that's one of the things that Johnny and Friends taught me is it's just as much about the person with special needs, about the caregiver as it is with the person with special needs. And have you guys experienced that with your church as far as what it means to the caregivers?
Yes, we have. And that is, I'm glad you brought that up because that's been a very important part of our ministry over the years. In the last probably, 8, 9 years, we've been serving at the Johnny and Friends retreats as the teen program leaders. And during the course of that, a lot of the kids in our group, we've had some large groups over the years. A lot of them were siblings of people that had some disability or another. And along with caregivers, siblings are exhausted and a lot of times not seen.
What did they call those? Glass children?
Glass children. Yeah.
I'd never heard that
I had not either.
That terminology. And yeah.
We had not heard that either until we had come to camp and learned about that. So yeah, that has been a very important part. Respite for caregivers, a place to talk, a place to bond over the meal where parents can talk and say, I'm going through this. And yeah, I'm going through that too. And yeah.
You know, something that just hit me that I've got to share because I'm kind of bubbling over. Our goal at Victory Advantage Nonprofit is to ultimately build a housing community. It could be apartments. We don't know what it is. It's a dream. It's a goal. And we want it to be inclusive. And it's going to be for people 21 and up so that they can live independently, have some outside support, but, have the transportation, the jobs, and everything that goes with it. And one of the leaders at Johnny and Friends, and it just hit me, had we thought about a support system where we've got an extra apartment for a young pastor. Does that not tie in to what you're talking about with seminary and teaching them? Would that not be grassroots of an opportunity to have a pastor on site to help him understand? Because he would need to have a heart for people with special needs. He would be there to support them and could learn so much and then carry it out in the community.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Absolutely.
That would be great. And then they could have the small groups there. Man, my mind is just going. And now I got to take this to the board and they'll go, we're not ready for that. Yeah. I'm like, I know, I'm just dreaming. Just putting out those goals,
but that's how things happen, you dream and you have a calling and somehow it just, God works all that stuff out.
And you say a prayer.
Yep.
And then you take a step.
Yep.
Well, I have a question before we close. I always ask my guests this. Where do you draw your greatest strength?
A couple places. Definitely from the Word. I love reading the Bible, and I've been listening to the Bible a lot more in the last couple of years.
That's what he talked about at church.
Yeah, exactly. He talked about that, and that really hit with me too, because that's become one of my favorite ways to study it. And I get a lot of my energy and my motivation and just by learning more about God, learning more about Jesus. And the more I do that, it just energizes you and he just shows you your path just becomes clearer. It's fantastic. So I get a lot of that is what drives me. And then she does. She's very, very
sweet.
She is, and she's very passionate about this. And, she came up to me one day and just, said, I want to start a church. I said, okay. All right. Okay. Well, let's.
Can you give me anything else?
Yeah. So you got, what else you got?
I got nothing. I just know I got to do that.
But I see that her desire to be obedient is very, very strong. And that inspires me to be obedient as well. So those are the two places where I get most of my drive to do this.
That's special.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it would be at the point at which I knew this is something we needed to do. I asked myself, are you going to do it? or are you going to come up with an excuse to not do it? Because the excuse to not do it would be so easy.
Yes.
But when I meet Jesus one day and he asks me, did you start that church I asked you to start? Am I going to give him my lame excuse? Or am I going to say, all right, well, yeah,
Yes,
Lord,
yes, I
I'm
do.
going to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. I certainly am not equipped to do this, but I don't want to meet him one day and say, well, it just wasn't important enough, or I didn't have enough time, or I wasn't well equipped when I knew quite well that I have been equipped,
Or fear.
right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
that would be where my strength comes from.
That sounds wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Michael and Deena, thank you both for your hearts and your ministry. The work you're doing aligns so closely with what we believe at the Victory Advantage, creating pathways of belonging, purpose, and victory for every individual. When we come together in faith and service, we don't just change lives, we change the landscape of what's possible. And I do thank you guys for coming and talking to me and what you've done at Joyful Table. It is just amazing. And, a lot of people that are involved with the disability ministry or disability in general have faced that themselves. And you are a true inspiration to me that it has touched your heart and your lives in a whole different way, which tells me with our nonprofit, I'm going to be able to reach people that may not have been touched with it, but have a heart to help people. And these people certainly deserve it. So thank you.
Thanks for having us. It's
All
been
right.
wonderful.
Thank you for joining us for the Soaring Through Adversity podcast. New episodes are released on the first of every month. To learn more about our mission and passion, visit thevictoryadvantage.org. That is THE, victoryadvantage.org. There you'll find ways to get involved as a volunteer, donate, or apply for funding that supports individuals with IDD or physical disabilities in Union County, North Carolina, and the greater Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. You will also find a podcast tab on our website where you can click on the link to our YouTube channel. And I hope while you're there, you will subscribe. Additionally, you can see links that take you directly to our podcast on Apple and Spotify. We are also active on all social media platforms. Thank you again for tuning in and for your incredible support. We couldn't have made this impact without you. And remember, faith first, not last, will lead to living victoriously beyond limitations. Until next time, keep soaring.